Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at this, the Vultee Vanguard from Dora wings in 1/48 scale. So join me as I take a look inside the box and see what this kit is like. Without any further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. So on the outside you can see we've got this very nice image of the Vultee Vanguard in RAF colours, and this is what caught my eye on the shelf when I popped into the model shop. So I have a rule, generally if I go into a model shop, a real one in real life, I will support them in some way by purchasing something, no matter how small it is. And I saw this and I thought to myself, I don't know anything about this aircraft. Why do I not know anything about this aircraft when it's painted in RAF colours? So I picked it up purely for that reason. For those of you who want to know where I went, I was actually in Antics in Cardiff, which is a nice little shop, and yeah, I found it to be somewhere I may pop back into if I ever get the chance. But yeah, so on the front of the box you can see we've got this image, and also we have an item code down here of DW48050. Flipping over, the back of the box doesn't feature anything, so we'll move on to the long thin edge, and we've got our barcode and a little flag here saying it was made in Ukraine, which I find very impressive given what's going on over there. We also have some other kits in the Dora wings range which are available, such as the Vultee Vengeance, the Cauldron CR714 and the Curtiss Wright Interceptor. So they seem to be making some interesting aircraft. On the thin edge it's just the same information as on the front of the box, and then on the other side we have a QR code which I've checked takes you to the actual Dora Wings website, but we also have an indication here of the aircraft in a Swedish paint scheme. We do have some generic facts about the aircraft. The kit in particular is 180mm long, it has a wingspan of 228, 128 parts are included. There is photo etch, but it does indicate that no paint and glue are included. If you know me, you know that I like it. I mean, they've got a little bit more information down here, but I like to know the tooling age of a kit. I didn't know anything about this kit when I bought it. I picked it up and went, all right, we'll just see what it's like, see what's going on. All I ask from manufacturers is to tell us when the kit was tooled and when the particular version you have here was released. So like tooling date, blah, release date of this version, blah. It's literally, there's loads of space on this box, could have gone anywhere. So that avoids the problem of, some people go, oh, it's down to the purchaser to research a kit before they buy it, and I don't think that's particularly fair, because that just encourages manufacturers to just get away with putting old ancient toolings in new boxes alongside their new ones, and then you get a mix and match. So I think if you went home and open up the box and go, oh, that's a really old tooling, I'm really disappointed I bought it now, that's a bit misleading from the manufacturer's point of view. Just tell us on the box. It takes like, I don't know, 20 seconds for you to do that in your editing software when you do the artwork, and I think it just adds a lot of transparency, and it gives that customer a bit more faith in the company and want to go back to them. So had I picked up this kit and taken it home and opened it up and realized it was something really old, I probably would have been disappointed. However, I know that this is a 2023 tooling because I've looked it up. So this is only, what, last year? So it should be pretty nice. And spoilers, I have already looked inside the box because I'm like a child and I can't help myself. So here we are inside the box then. All of our parts come in a plastic bag. And I think actually everything came in the plastic bag originally, which annoyingly, as you can see, there's a little bit of extra space in the box, so it could rattle around, but that's not too much of a major issue. So let's have a look at the instructions first, as usual, and we have a nice little colour booklet. So we'll open up the first page, and on the first page we've got our sprue map, which indicates where every part is, and we also have decal sheet, we have PE, and we have masks, which is really nice. Then we move on to the actual construction steps, and it tells you in various colours what you need to do. So we've got some photo etch that goes, is that a photo etch or is it a decal? I think that's a decal. So we've got a decal that goes on there, and then a bit of photo etch that goes on the top, and we come on through. There's lots of stuff to do in the cockpit, lots of nice little cockpit details. I mean, we're at stage 15 before we've even finished the cockpit. We've got little seat belts on the chair, we've got some braces, we've got a little fuel tank there, and another component, probably an oil tank or something like that. Loads of small details which go in to your cockpit assembly. And then finally, I think we get to adding it into the aircraft. So we join our two fuselage halves together, and then we come to doing our wings. We've got an internal brace here. We've got separate ailerons by the looks of it. We join those two parts together and progress onto the tail surfaces, which again come with separate control surfaces. And then we get to our engine, and the engine has quite a few different parts as well, so it's nicely detailed. And then having assembled your engine, you can add the engine cowling. We also need to add our tail surfaces to the model. Our wheels come in two parts which need to be glued together. There is photo etch parts for the cowling vent flaps around the engine, and there is a propeller assembly, and the propeller goes onto the shaft later on, so you don't have to assemble it at the early stages. You can add it last if you want, which is quite thoughtful. We do have an option of having different canopies depending on which variant you are producing. And then we go on to our landing gear assembly, and it looks to me that we only have the option as indicated in the instructions for the landing gear in the lowered position. I imagine with modification you could glue it in the raised position, but that's not indicated in the instructions. Additionally, you note that there is no pilot, so if you wanted to have this one flying, you would have to install a pilot and also put the landing gear in a raised position. A little bit annoying that that's not been mentioned, but you know, it's livable. I could live with that. It would be more annoying if they'd included a pilot but the landing gear was stuck down, or vice versa. So here we have two paint schemes which are for fictional aircraft, and these are Swedish ones for the aircraft being sold overseas, and I have missed the actual ones that I want to do. So you only get one kit, and I think I'm going to do the RAF version. So I didn't know anything about the Vanguard, and I did a bit of research, and to the best of my understanding, the RAF were basically going to put an order in for the Vanguard in the early 1940s or mid 1940s to supplement their fighter force. I think they didn't really like them. The Swedish were going to buy them. As a result, the Swedish were going to get them shipped over, so then they painted them up in the Swedish colours, but then that didn't happen either, and they ended up all being sent to China, or something to that effect anyway. So yeah, that's what caught my eye, the fact that it was an RAF aircraft, but it wasn't an RAF aircraft, if that made sense. So this is the version I'm going to do when I get around to doing it. And you note here that these are the different canopy options. The Swedish version has one less window frame towards the rear, but generally the instructions here has everything picked out quite nicely. And then you do have your what if versions for had they entered Swedish service, how would that have looked, and there's two different versions there, one with numbers and one with letters. On the back we have our colour callouts in a table with the different brands that they recommend. So Mr. Hobby, Tamiya, Ammo MiG, Hataka and Life Colour. I've used some of these but not all, but I may end up using my own choice. So instruction booklet, generally quite nice. However, if I had one small concern or criticism, it would be add a bit of information about the actual Vultee Vanguard here, so that, you know, I would know, because there's nothing in here about the actual aircraft. Just add a little bit here. Why is this aircraft in RAF colours when it was never used by the RAF? That would have been really interesting to have. So decals then come in a little baggie, and we'll have a look. And it doesn't say who manufactures the transfers. Oh, hang on. It does. They are. Hang on. I need to show you. I didn't see this originally. It says here that they are printed in Ukraine by Decals. And I thought originally that they may have been cartograph, but the paper, the backing paper, is a little bit too light blue for that. The reason why I said I thought they might have been cartograph is because they are printed to a very high quality, similar to that of cartograph. The registration on the roundels, the red dots are perfectly in the centre. The small text, like it says hands off down here, you got your little dials on your instrument panel, that's really well reproduced. So I initially thought that they may have been cartograph transfers, but again, They are not, they're Decograph. And I don't think I've experienced Decograph before, so it will be interesting to see how they go. But they look to be very high quality. They don't look overly thick. The transfer film is very neat around the edges. It's not massively large. There's no blemishes, there's no scratches or tears that I can see. So yeah, they should apply very nicely to the aircraft, I'm hoping. And there's a good selection there for the aircraft. It's not overly cluttered, the sheet. May struggle, they're very close together. Space has been not at a premium here, so cutting around them to get them out may be a bit of a struggle. But yeah, generally, pretty nice looking decal sheet. Inside this little bag then, you remember it was said that there was canopy masks, and canopy masks are something that I have become a massive fan of in recent years, because if you are airbrushing, or even if you're hand painting and you put a primer base down, that canopy mask is going to help you so much, so you don't have to paint everything off the aircraft. You can just build it and put it together. So here we have our canopy masks. These look as if they are vinyl rather than masking tape. The cuts on them are not the finest of canopy masks that I've seen, if the camera will decide to focus. So there's a little bit of a scuff here, for example, but I would rather have, slightly scuffed canopy masks than no canopy masks at all. So yeah, I'm looking forward to using these. I hope the only thing is that they go onto the model quite accurately and they fit right. But yeah, canopy masks, if you're a manufacturer, please add more of them. I love them. Photo etch, another good accessory, something that I have experienced and used in the past, but something that I can take or leave. I think that in particular for this Vanguard, you need the photo etch because you have elements of it, such as the cowling flaps. They need to be included. I don't think they're included as plastic parts, so the photo etch is unavoidable in this particular kit if you don't want to have parts that are missing. They do result in finer parts, which are still relatively strong because it's metal, but that being said, I think Eduard do quite a good job where you can get a weekend edition of the kit which doesn't come with the extras, or you can get the professional version which comes with them if you want to go that little bit further. So yeah, I mean, here the photo etch, it's not overly, there's not loads of it. There's just enough to add that extra something special to the kit. Personally, I could take it or leave it, but it is a good inclusion when you think about the value that this provides to the model. But that's only me saying from my personal experiences of how fiddly photo etch can be. Hopefully though, with a bit more practice, I shouldn't have any issues. And with that, it's time to move on to the sprues. So let's just put those over there. So let's look at the clear parts first. That seems to be what I normally do. And they come in their own little bag. Of the canopy parts has shifted slightly. It's not yet come away from the sprue, but it's threatening, but it's okay. So we have front windscreen, main canopy, and then the rear canopy. This is your Swedish version, this is your RAF version, and then we have some smaller clear parts as well, which I presume are for like the navigation and landing lights. And then the plastic is crystal clear. There is a small amount of flash, ever so tiny amount in a few places. There are some blemishes on the plastic in a few little places as well, which is a little bit of a shame, but generally very nice. There is, and I think, I was going to say that's a crack, but it's not a crack, it's just part of the moulding catching the light. Yeah, so it's the part of the canopy frame there. Are they on the inside? Oh. No, they're not on the inside. I thought they might be molded on the inside. So the molded lines, molded frames are they're not like in your face. They are a little bit subtle. They're raised enough to catch your fingernail, but they're not massive when compared to other companies. But yeah, no, pretty good. I look forward to using the mask on these. Probably do mine with the canopy closed, I think. I don't know, I don't think the option to have it open was presented in the kit, but I imagine that you could just by moving that over the top. So that's your clear parts. Then we have our main plastic parts, and these are molded. to a sort of olivey green colour. I don't think I've had a kit in this colour for a very long time. But yeah, plastic doesn't feel massively greasy, maybe just ever so slightly. It's relatively dense, doesn't feel particularly flexible. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little sprues. On this one then we've got loads of small parts. There isn't much in the way of flash, it's all very neatly moulded. Lots of little tiny parts. We've got our bits for our cockpit, engine elements, small details, very nicely moulded. On this one we've got our propeller, more bits of our cockpit including the chair. You can see why we have the photo etch. The chair hasn't got much in the way of detail on it, but the photo etch will bring that up a little bit. I think that's the bracing part inside of the wing. We have control panel, other small details, cockpit floor, I think. Yep, very nice. And then we have our control surfaces, and now you can start to see that we've got loads of rivet detail. All of it is of the recessed variety. There are some raised elements for like ribs and spars, but we've got loads of little rivets on there. And this does challenge Eduard. I've had some Eduard kits in the past which have been absolutely covered in rivets, and this is of the same sort of quality. Here we've got our internals of our cockpit, some little details in there, not much. On the outside though, we have again lots of recessed panel lines and little rivets all over the place. Very nice. Definitely in the detail department it puts other companies to shame. Probably not much need to add your own rivets, as I think they probably caught most of them in the moulding process. Then we come on to landing gear parts, more of the engine. We've got our little bit that goes at the front of the engine with loads of little rivets and things on that, very neatly moulded. And also the wheels. The wheels don't seem to have like a flattened edge as other companies tend to do to simulate the weight on the aircraft, but you could just sand a little bit off if you wanted to. And then our front of our cowling here with the 2 nose machine guns there. And then our lower wing surface, again recessed and raised details as appropriate with loads of little rivets all over the place. Very nice to look at. And then our upper wing surfaces, and we've got our 2 machine guns in the wings on each side as well. Yeah, this is a very nice looking kit, especially for someone like me who's not experienced a Dora wings model before. I am pleasantly surprised by the quality of it. So small issues, no pilot, and the landing gear doesn't seem to be able to be raised, but they are minor. I know people are probably going, you're moaning that you had photo etch. It's not so much a moan, it's more like I find photo etch daunting. It is a nice addition to the kit, and it will certainly add extra value to it. So to round off, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 olivey green plastic sprues, which are molded to a beautiful quality with no flash and loads of rivet detail if you like that sort of thing. We have some lovely clear parts as well for the 2 different variants, and again molded to a very high quality. We had a instruction booklet which is in colour and does give quite good step-by-step instructions on how to assemble the model. However, small thing, perhaps a little bit of history about the actual aircraft, but then that's only minor, and I did Google it myself. We have some lovely little bits of photo etch, which I will probably struggle to use, but I will have a go nonetheless. We have some canopy masks, which is always a great inclusion. However, we do have a few little scuffs from where it's been cut, but hopefully that shouldn't cause any issues when we use them on the model. And I'd rather have them and them be a little bit scuffed than not have them included at all, because if you go and buy these things separately, it's an extra cost that you may not necessarily want to incur. We also have some decograph decals, which I initially thought may have been cartograph, so that just goes to show how nice they look. All of which comes contained within this little box, and it is beautifully illustrated. And certainly an interesting aircraft from a company that I've never experienced before. I am going to do the RAF version because I think it looks a little bit more interesting. And as mentioned, it's a 2023 tooling, so it does have all of the features and things that we like to see of our kit at in the current age. Small gripe would be put a tooling date and a release date on the box. And you're probably thinking, how much did I pay for this? Well, I don't know if you can see it there, but when I went into Antics, I paid that full price there of £30 and 95 pence for a 1/48 scale kit. Now you might think to yourself, that seems a little bit expensive, bearing in mind, of course, that other 1/48 scale kits you can get cheaper, you know, the £20–25 mark, but then again, they're not always as newly tooled, so this is only tooled and released in the last year or so. Don't forget, it also comes with that lovely amount of detail, which other kits which are cheaper don't tend to have. It also has canopy masks and photo etch included in the box, which I think does give a good representation of the price. I have seen it available online in other retailers for ever so slightly cheaper, but we're talking like £1 or £2. So this seems to be the RRP. And I looked on the Dora Wings website and they're retailing it for €34. So with conversion, this seems to be about right for the market value of the kit. If you can get one cheaper, of course, then that's probably an absolute bargain. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think of my assessment of this kit and if my review was fair? Which version would you go for if you had one of these? As always, a quick shout out to my channel members and patrons for the extra support they give the channel. Massive thanks to these guys on screen. And if you'd like to join them, take a look at the link in the description to find out more. Alternatively, you can help support the channel if you'd like to in other ways, and full information is again underneath the video. Alternatively, the best way to help support the channel for free is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.